Look, there are the first 5 sentences. Don't skip them, because the secret of the entire video is hidden inside those lines. Free money is never free. It's only free for the person who gets it first. The bill doesn't arrive like a receipt. It arrives as higher prices, higher rents, and fewer choices. When money gets cheaper, the world doesn't get richer. Life gets more expensive. Most people don't feel this transfer because it happens slowly. Then suddenly, everything changes. And the biggest cost isn't what you pay today, it's what you're forced to accept tomorrow. All right, now let's unpack what those sentences really mean, step by step. What do people mean when they say free money? When someone says free money, they usually mean the same feeling. Money becomes easy to get. Interest rates are low, borrowing feels cheap, credit is everywhere. Loans get approved more easily, markets keep rising, and everyone starts saying the same line, "This is normal now." Sometimes free money arrives as direct payments. Sometimes it shows up as emergency support. Sometimes it looks like a central bank protecting the system. But the feeling is the same. Money is flowing, and it hasn't started hurting anyone yet. That's why people love this situation and try to benefit from it as much as possible. Because free money feels like the system suddenly softened. It feels like the rules became more merciful. It feels like opportunity opened up. But then the first hidden rule appears. Free money is always a contract made with time. It pulls future purchasing power into today like a magnet. And every contract with time has a price. The only question is, who pays and when? Hidden mechanism. Free money changes prices before it changes wages. Most people think the issue is inflation, but inflation is only the symptom. The real mechanism is the order of adjustment, the sequence of change, the pipeline money flows through. When money gets cheaper, it doesn't land in everyone's life at the same time. It comes through channels, it comes through networks, it reaches the fast hands first. So who grabs it fast? Institutions that can borrow within minutes, companies with existing credit lines, asset owners who can refinance. People with access to leverage, anyone with collateral. Everyday people, meanwhile, live on a paycheck schedule. But the paycheck schedule moves very slowly. It lags. Nobody puts this on a billboard. Prices can change overnight. Wages usually don't. A store updates prices in 10 minutes. A landlord raises rent when the contract renews. A company raises subscription prices with one click. But your pay? Pay needs meetings, budgets, approvals, we'll review next quarter, and usually silence. So what happens during a free money era? Assets react first, rents react next, prices creep upward, wages stay behind. That lag is a silent tax. Because in that gap, people pay new prices with old income. They don't call it policy, they call it stress. They feel it like this. Why did rent jump like that? Why did everything suddenly get heavier? Why do I feel poorer with the same job? Why is saving impossible now? That's why the second sentence mattered. The bill doesn't arrive like a receipt. It arrives as higher prices, higher rents, and fewer choices. It's not one big payment, it's your choices slowly shrinking. The most important point, free money isn't a gift, it's a transfer. Let's explain this part in detail. Free money isn't a miracle falling from the sky. It's the system deciding where the first wave of purchasing power goes. And that first wave matters because it sets the new price level. If money reaches you early, you buy at yesterday's prices. If it reaches you late, you buy at tomorrow's prices. That's the difference. That's the transfer. Now think about real life. When credit is cheap, who can use it immediately? People with strong credit history. People who already own property. Companies that can borrow against assets. Institutions that can move billions at low rates. They buy scarce things. They push prices up. They lock in positions. Then the rest of society enters that new world. It's not personal, it's mechanical. That's why free money can look good in headlines, but make daily life feel heavier. Because wealth can rise on paper, while real purchasing power falls. The third sentence was saying exactly that. When money gets cheaper, the world doesn't get richer. Life gets more expensive. For the average person, the biggest costs aren't stocks. They're not exotic investments. They are housing, food, transportation, energy, health, time. And free money often inflates what's scarce, especially housing. That's why society's mood gets strange. Markets say everything is up. People say life got heavier. Both can be true at the same time. This is normal. Because gains aren't shared equally. The part nobody talks about. Housing becomes the battlefield. Let's look at the biggest pressure point, housing. When money is cheap, mortgages get cheaper. When mortgages get cheaper, buyers can pay more. But the hidden rule is this: cheaper borrowing doesn't make homes cheaper. It can make them more expensive. Because if everyone can borrow more, everyone can bid more. And with something limited, like land in a desirable area, prices don't fall. They rise. So cheap money doesn't fix affordability, it inflates it away. Rent rises with the same gravity. When prices rise, landlords adjust. When costs rise, landlords adjust. When demand rises, landlords adjust. So the bill shows up in the one place you can't avoid, housing. That's why the transfer becomes emotional, because housing isn't optional. You can delay upgrading your phone. You can't delay having a place to live. So free money can help some people buy homes while holding others outside the gate. It creates a silent divide. Owners feel richer. Non-owners feel the lock. Same city, same economy, different reality. And here, the conspiracy feeling becomes real without any villain. It's not always a secret meeting. It's a system that rewards access. The emotional trap, why people notice too late. The human brain doesn't feel slow changes clearly. Groceries rise a little, you adapt. Rent rises a little, you adjust. Everything creeps up. You cut one small thing, and you start calling it normal. You don't say silent tax, you just slowly downgrade your life. You cancel something, you stop buying something, you give up certain pleasures. And eventually, you forget what you even changed. That's why the fourth sentence mattered. Most people don't feel this transfer because it happens slowly. Then suddenly, everything changes. The suddenly moment usually happens when something breaks. You're forced out of a neighborhood, your savings can't keep up, your car breaks, and you realize everything is expensive now. Rates shift and manageable debt becomes pressure. Markets fall and you see how fragile the system was. Because cheap money doesn't only raise prices, people's behavior changes. When the system says borrowing is cheap, it's like it's saying, take more risk. You'll be rewarded. And those behaviors build a structure that looks strong until conditions change. The dark side: free money rewards leverage, not patience. This may sound harsh, but it's how cycles work. Free money rewards the person who takes risk with borrowed time. When rates are low, leverage looks smart, borrowing looks cheap, living with debt looks normal. And because pain is low at first, it spreads. People refinance and stretch further. Businesses aggressively expand with debt. Investors take margin and riskier bets. Speculation gets renamed strategy. Not because everyone suddenly became reckless, because incentives changed. When the system says borrowing is cheap, it's like it's saying, take more risk. You'll be rewarded. Then the cycle turns, and suddenly leverage becomes weight. The same debt becomes heavier. The same payment becomes painful. That's when people realize free money wasn't a gift, and it wasn't given to you for free. It was a temporary environment created to be used. And temporary environments create permanent consequences. Silent wealth transfer. Savers lose. Borrowers win. Owners come out ahead. Let's talk about savers. Many people think saving is a virtue. Behaviorally, yes. But in a free money era, cash savings often weaken. Because when rates are low and prices are high, cash can't keep up. It doesn't die dramatically, it just fades. So what happens? Savers feel punished. Borrowers feel rewarded, asset owners rise. And that increases social anger. Why does the careful person lose? Why does the risk-taker win? Always remember, this system isn't built on morality, it's mechanics. The system rewards position, not virtue. When you understand this, you learn the rules of the game. That's why cheap money changes culture. It teaches a dangerous lesson. Being conservative is for losers, and the cycle strengthens. The real cost: resources go to what looks good, not what matters. Now, let's go deeper. Cheap money doesn't only change prices, it changes what gets funded. When money is expensive, people are selective. When money is cheap, people fund everything. That looks like growth, but it also becomes waste. Projects that should die survive. Bad models get financed. Trends inflate. The important and the empty get mixed. People feel it like this: the world is fake. Because during these periods, unprofitable companies are valued like legends. Products without substance sell on hype, noise gets rewarded, while strong fundamentals get ignored. That's a real cost, because resources, labor, materials, time, are being directed by a distorted price of money. When money becomes too cheap, it doesn't only create opportunity, it creates noise, and when the cycle turns, the cleanup hurts. The pain nobody talks about. When free money ends, it ends hard. Nobody celebrates the end of free money. People get scared. Because when the environment changes, rates rise, credit tightens, trust breaks, everything built on cheap money starts shaking. And what shakes first? The fragile parts. People with too much debt relative to income. Businesses dependent on constant refinancing, investments that only work when borrowing is cheap. Markets priced on the belief that rates will stay low forever. The end of free money doesn't feel like a gentle adjustment. It often feels like a cold wind. And here, the fifth sentence becomes the main point of the video. The biggest cost isn't what you pay today, it's what you're forced to accept tomorrow. Tomorrow's forced acceptance often looks like higher monthly payments, stricter approvals, layoffs, hiring freezes, cut costs everywhere. Everyone must sacrifice narratives. Prices stay high while growth slows. Life tightens overall. People ask, why is everything so strict now? Because the system is trying to restore stability after years of distortion. And restoring stability always hurts someone. Free money and the power ladder, who gets it first always makes the difference. Let's speak plainly. In a free money era, the most important question isn't how much money is flowing. The question is, who gets it first? Because the first receivers write the new reality. If you're close to the credit faucet, you move early. If you're far, you arrive late. And when you arrive late, you don't get a discount, you get the bill. That's why everyday people sometimes feel the game is rigged, because they're always late. They pay higher rent after the asset boom. They face higher prices after the spending wave. They live under tighter rules after the party. They never feel the early advantage. Here is the core hidden rule. Timing isn't just investing, timing is life. The two-phase script, first the party, then the bill. If you want a model that explains 80% of it, remember this. Phase 1. Cheap money feels like a party. Assets rise, risk looks smart. Everyone feels richer. Stories feel true. Phase 2. Reality sends the invoice. Inflation stays. Rates rise. Credit tightens. Fragility shows up, and the pain isn't equal. Winners are often those who bought scarce assets early. Those who had early access to cheap credit. Those who refinanced at the right time. Those who could hold through volatility. Losers are often those who entered late, those whose wages adjusted slowly. Those carrying fragile debt, those with no buffer when the cycle turned. There's no morality here. There's structure. There are incentives. The darkest truth, free money can feel like freedom, while creating dependence. This is psychological. Cheap money gives people a bigger sense of options. You can buy everything with credit. You buy now, you upgrade life, you stretch further. But those options come with strings. Debt isn't just a number. Debt is a schedule, and a schedule is control. So dependence grows in a cheap money era. More people rely on refinancing. More businesses rely on cheap funding. More households rely on revolving credit. More governments rely on rollover. When the environment changes, dependence becomes visible. That's why free money is seductive. It feels like freedom, but it builds dependence underneath. The uncomfortable truth, you can't opt out of the environment. Some people hear this and ask, okay, What should I do? This is not advice. But the reality is, even if you don't borrow, you still live in the world cheap money created. You pay the new rent, you face the new prices, you live under the new rules. So this is bigger than personal finance. It's a system story. The environment is shared, and when the shared environment distorts, everyone feels it. Some feel it as a benefit, some feel it as punishment, but everyone feels it. If the real cost had one word, fragility. If I had to summarize the real cost of free money in one word, it would be fragility. Because cheap money can inflate comfort while weakening foundations. Risk looks safe, debt looks light, speculation looks normal. When conditions change, the system discovers what was real and what was inflated. That's why the bill doesn't always arrive like a financial receipt. It often arrives like a social receipt. Trust breaks. Stress rises. People blame each other. Institutions tighten. Politics gets louder. Society gets more anxious. Cheap money doesn't only change numbers, it changes the emotional climate, a simple model you can keep forever. Let's turn everything into a model you can remember. Cheap money enters first through access. Early access inflates scarce assets. Prices adjust faster than wages. Savings lose purchasing power. Leverage grows because it feels safe. Then conditions shift, and fragility gets exposed. The bill arrives as tighter rules and fewer choices. That's it. Once you see that sequence, you stop being confused, because you realize the free part was temporary. The cost part was always coming. What should you take away? Not advice, just clarity. Free money isn't a miracle, it's a trade. A trade between present comfort and future pressure. A trade between early access and late access. A trade between asset owners and wage earners. A trade between leverage and fragility. That's why people argue about it so intensely. They're not arguing about numbers, they're arguing about where they stand in the pipeline. If you're close to the flow, it feels like opportunity. If you're last in line, life gets heavier. That's the hidden rule. The next time you hear free money, don't ask only, how much are we getting? Ask the only question that matters. Who gets it first? And who pays later? This is Coin Conspiracy, and we expose hidden rules.